I do think that what we have is actually potentially better than the brain, and it's just not there yet.
How do you think about human augmentation with different AI systems over time? Do you think that's a likely direction? Do you think that's unlikely? Augmentation of people with AI models.
Oh, of course. I mean, but in what sense, maybe? I think in general, absolutely.
Because I mean, there's the abstract version of it you're using as a tool. That's the external version. There's the merger scenario. A lot of people end up talking about.
Yeah. I mean, we're already kind of merging. The thing is, like, there's the I/O bottleneck there. But for the most part, at your fingertips, if you have any of these models.
Yeah, but that's a little bit different because, I mean, people have been making that argument for, I think, 40, 50 years where technological tools are this extension of human capabilities, right?
Yeah, the computer is the bicycle for human mind.
Yeah, exactly. So, but there's a subset of the AI community that thinks that, for example, the way that we subsume some potential conflict with future AI or something else would be through some form of
like the Neuralink pitch, etc.
Exactly.
I don't know what this merger looks like yet, but I can definitely see that you want to decrease the I/O to tools. And I see this as kind of like an Exocortex we're building on top of our neocortex, right? And it's just the next layer, and it just turns out to be in the cloud, etc. But it is the next layer of the brain.
Yeah, Accelerando, a book from the early 2000s, has a version of this where basically everything is substantiated in a set of goggles that are computationally attached to your brain that you wear, and then if you lose them, you must feel like you're losing a part of your personality.
I think that's very likely, yeah. And today the phone is already almost that, and I think it's going to get worse. When you put your techno stuff away from you, you're just naked human in nature.
Well, you lose part of your intelligence. No, it's very anxiety-inducing.
A very simple example of that is just maps, right? So a lot of people now have noticed can't actually navigate their city very well anymore because they're always using turn-by-turn direction.
And if we have this, for example, like Universal Translator, which I don't think is too far away, like you'll lose the ability to speak to people who don't speak English if you just put your stuff away.
I'm very comfortable repurposing that part of my brain to do further research.
I don't know if you saw the video of like the kid that has a magazine and is trying to like swipe on the magazine.
Yeah.
What's fascinating to me about it is like this kid doesn't understand what comes with nature and what's technology on top of the nature.
Yeah.
Because it's made so transparent. And I think this might look similar where people will just start assuming the rules. And then when you take them away, you realize like, I guess like people don't know what's technology and what's not. If you're wearing this thing that's always translating everyone or like doing stuff like that for you, then maybe people like use the
basic cognitive abilities may not exist. I don't think exist. Yeah,
like whoa, like by nature. Or like,
You're gonna specialize.
You can't understand people who speak Spanish. Like what the hell? Or like when you go to objects, like in Disney, all the objects are alive. And I think we are going to potentially come to that kind of a world where why can't I talk to things? Like already today you can talk to Alexa and you can ask them for things and so on.
Yeah,
I've seen some toy companies like that where they're basically trying to embed an LLM in a toy so that can interact with a child.
Yeah, like isn't this strange that when you go to a door you can't just say open? Like what the hell? Another favorite example of that, I don't know if you saw either Demolition Man or iRobot. People make fun of the idea that you like you can't just talk to things and what the hell.
If we're talking about a exocortex, that feels like a pretty fundamentally important thing to democratize access to. How do you think like the current market structure of what's happening in LLM research? There's a small number of large labs that actually have a shot at the next generation progressing training. Like, how does that translate to what people have access to in the future?
So what you're kind of alluding to maybe is the state of the ecosystem, right? So we have kind of like an oligopoly of a few code platforms, and then we have an open platform that is kind of like behind, so like Meta Llama, etc. And this is kind of like mirroring the open source kind of ecosystem. I do think that when this stuff when we start to think of it as like an exocortex, so there's a saying in crypto which is like not your keys, not your tokens. Like, is it the case that if it's like not your weights, not your brain?
That's interesting because the company is effectively controlling your exocortex and therefore a big part of
it starts to feel kind of invasive. If this is my exocortex,
I think people will care much more about ownership. Yeah.
Like you realize you're renting your brain. Like it seems strange to rent your brain.
The thought experiment is like, are you willing to give up ownership and control to rent a better brain? Because I am.
Yeah. So I think that's the trade-off. I think. Well,